If you're anything like me, you probably have scrap cords laying around everywhere in bags and boxes. And in this video, I'm going to show you 10 different ways on how you can incorporate scrap cords into your macrame projects. Hey everyone, it's Nicole here from BOCHIKNOT Macrame. Let's be honest, I used to throw away a lot of scrap cords, especially those shorter ones that I think I have no use for, but not anymore. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 unique and practical ways you can incorporate scrap cords into your projects. From functional mini projects to fun add-ons and accents, I'm going to show you how you can elevate your macrame projects with some scrap cords. Most of these are super quick wins, just ways on how you can make your macrame a little bit more efficient and effective and helping reduce waste at the same time. And without further ado, let's jump in. The first one I want to go over is berry knots. So this is a berry knot pillow cover. Don't know if you guys can see this well, but it's got several berry knots. Now, a pattern using so many berry knots like this can take up a lot of cord and not necessarily evening out the cords as you use them, especially if they're in a pattern like this where they're spaced out and there are certain areas where you do make berry knots and then some where you don't. You're going to end up having a lot of shorter cords and some longer cords, which at the end is sort of a waste of cords. And so to better gauge cord lengths, how I would make a pattern like this is I would plan out the pattern without incorporating the berry knots in the base cord lengths. And that's what I did for this pattern. I actually used separate strands of cords to make every berry knot. I used 40 centimeter long cords to make each berry knot. And I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. You really just need a strand of cord at about 40 to 50 centimeters long. And you can test this, of course, and it depends on if you're making 2 consecutive square knots or 3 consecutive square knots. So I'm taking my strand of cord, the middle point I'm placing behind the 2 anchor cords here, the 2 vertical cords, and I'm going to make a square knot. Now, if you want a flatter looking square knot, you just need to make 2 consecutive square knots. But if you want a more textured berry knot, you can of course make 3. I'm just going to make another one since I have some extra lengths with the cords I'm using. So if you have some slightly longer scraps at about 50 centimeters long, this is perfect for that. You don't necessarily have to use a different color. Like in my pillow cover, they're all the same color. It's just for the purpose of measuring cord lengths, and so you don't end up with super long cords, some super long cords at the end of your project that you have to cut off, which would result in more scrap cords. We're trying to use up some scrap cords by using those shorter strands to make the berry knots. So now we'll take the middle 2 cords, weave it above, because we left a little gap above the first square knot. And then finish off with one last square knot. If you guys are interested in the pillow pattern, I'll link all of those tutorials and patterns in the description below. But this is how you would make a berry knot, and you should be able to test how long of the scrap cord lengths that you need, and it should be perfect to make one berry knot. And then with the ends, you can snip off any excess that you may have, but you can just tuck the ends at the back of the pattern once you're done each berry knot. So another way you can use up scraps is by making some rose knots. This is what the rose knot, a bed of them, looks like. I actually used all scrap cords to make these rose knots, which is great. I used up a lot of them, and these are very easy to make. You actually can use this up with your shorter strands of scrap cords. So I just have a strand of cord here. Let's measure how long this is. At about 33 centimeters, which is about 13 inches. And so what we're going to do is make a rose knot. What I usually do is I fold it in half, and I take the loop end and I twist it. And then I wrap it around my index, and then I kind of just make an overhand knot. So I bring the loop end through, and then I just tighten it. So tighten it as tight as possible, and of course if you want to use a longer strand of cord, you can wrap it around more times so that you'll have more layers to your rose. I actually like these mini roses. I like attaching them onto my projects because you can just use the ends here and as working cords for square knots. You can easily attach them onto almost any project. If you want to incorporate color or just incorporate a separate knot pattern, like a daisy knot pattern into a project, you can do so with scrap cords. Now I have 3 consecutive daisy knot patterns. If you'd like to just make one, then you would only need shorter strands of scrap cords. And I'll quickly show you how you can incorporate a daisy knot pattern into a project. I have a strand of cord attached here onto a dowel with a lark's knot, and 100 centimeter long cord is enough for this demonstration. And what we're going to do is we're just going to crisscross those 2 vertical cords. Then taking our green colored cord, we're going to attach it to the middle with a reverse lark's knot. We're going to tighten the reverse lark's knot and also tighten the anchor cord ends, like so. Then we're just going to make a series of vertical lark's knots. So on the right side, taking the cord underneath, we're going to go over and through the right, under and through the right. There's our first vertical lark's knot. We're going to do this once more. Over through the right, under through the right. Then do the same thing on the other side. Over through the left, under through the left. Over through the left, under through the left. Crisscross the anchor cords. Take the right cord, make a half hitch knot on the right. Take the left cord, make a half hitch knot on the left. Then pull on the anchor cords to tighten. And we have a daisy knot pattern. Now, if you're just incorporating color into a project like a wall hanging or plant hanger, you can just snip off the ends here and tuck them to the back. Or if you're just making a keychain, you can end it here with a gallery knot. One way to add texture to your wall hanging layers is to add a built-in tassel like this. And this is perfect for scrap cords. To make a built-in tassel, you'll need a few strands of cord, and all you need to do is fringe it out. So once you have combed through the fringe, and you can use some pretty short scrap cords for this, then you can attach it onto your diamond by weaving it through. So what we do is take one end through one side, take the other end through the other side, and then we have to make sure that we match the ends at the back. Should look nice and neat at the front. If not, you can pull in the cords, recomb it if you need 2. And then once you're ready, take both the ends from the back and pull it through in the middle at the bottom. You may have to push the ends through, but they should come through pretty nicely. Once it's through, all you have to do is recomb and then retrim. And this is what I call a built-in tassel that's part of the actual knot pattern. The next one is what I call a hanging tassel. So instead of incorporating the tassel within the knot pattern, we just have it hanging down separately. You can also make these on its own as keychains or accents to other projects. For these hanging tassels, you'll need a few strands of cord, and what you're going to do is we're going to comb through them. They're going to become this nice, soft, fluffy fringe, like so. I did use 3 plies, so it is a little bit harder to fringe. I'd recommend undoing the 3-ply ends first before combing through. It'll save you a lot more time. But once you have combed through for the most part, what we're going to do, split the fringe in half. This is going to be the handle, and what we're going to do is we're just going to tie an overhand knot at the ends. Now if you're hanging this on a keychain or onto something, I'd weave it through now and then work off of that. But if you're just going to make an individual tassel like I'm doing here, we're just going to place the handle in the middle of the fringe. Take a separate cord. We're going to tie a nice overhand knot at the top. I'd like to make another overhand knot at the back. Snip off any excess. And then we're going to fold the fringe down. Now I didn't comb through that many strands of cord. So what you really want is the fringe to cover up the entirety of the sides so that it covers all of it. If it doesn't, you'll probably need to comb through more strands of cords. But I think this should be okay. I'm just going to try and spread out the fringe so that it covers all the way around. And then once you do, use another strand of cord for a gathering knot. So you basically want to make the gathering knot about 1/2 inch down. And you just want to make a really small gathering knot. You don't want to make it too big. Pull it through. And then snip off the cords. And any shorter cords that stick out. Okay, once done, all you have to do is re-comb through the fringe at the bottom and trim your tassel to your desired length. And that's how you would make a tassel. So the next one I wanted to talk about is fringe. So a lot of times when you make a wall hanging project with just your base cords, you end up with fringe at the ends, but it might not look as thick as you want it to. So this is what the base pattern fringe looks like. It's kind of sparse. There is a bit of space in between the cords. So if you want to add another layer on top for some extra texture, some extra thickness, you can do that with scrap cords. Now, you can add fringe that's very short, you can layer it, or you can add longer fringe, which is what we have here, depending on what your scrap cord lengths or how you want your project to look like. You can usually use up some scrap cords for fringe. Now, how you would add this fringe, it's the same way as you would add the tassels, those built-in tassels we talked about. So what we would do is taking a strand of cord. This is actually not very long. It's probably around 40 centimeters long. So what we would do is we would take a strand of cord, one end to the right side, one end through to the left side of the loop, and we're going to bring them to the back. Like this. And then once we match the ends together, bring the ends through the bottom, middle, pull it through, and you've got fringe that we added nicely. Now you can also add shorter fringe, comb through the fringe however you'd like for the texture. That is up to you. The next one I want to talk about is feathers. So everyone loves a good feather. This is one way to make one is with double half-hitch knots. You can make them with square knots. But this is also another great way to use up those shorter scrap cords. You don't need very long ones to make feathers, depending on how big of a feather you want. But I have a bunch here. What you would do is taking a short strand of cord. This is not very long. It's probably about 15 to 18 centimeters long. And what you would do is you would make a double half-hitch knot onto the two anchor cords. So take one end underneath, take the same end over and through the right. And then pull on the left end just to tighten everything, and there you have your double half-hitch knot. So you just repeat that over and over, and then you comb through the ends to have this nice fluffy fringe, and then you just shape your feathers. Another way you can make feathers is, this is pretty much similar to how you would add fringe, shorter fringe to your projects. So we have short strands of cords, we have loops on the sides of this diamond pattern, and we just attached it onto the loops with reverse lark's head knots. So this is already combed through, but I'll just take one out and redo it so that you can see how it's done. I'll also link the tutorial below, of course. So just taking a short strand of cord, fold it in half, take it underneath the cord, make a reverse lark's head knot, tighten, and then recomb through, reshape for that nice fluffy look. And of course, we can't forget about rainbows. This one is a smaller ornament, but you can also make them larger as a wall hanging if you'd like. Now, the scrap cords are usually used for the inner parts of the rainbow, so the inner layers. So you'll just need a few strands of cords, and similar to other fringe, you'd comb through them, and then using another longer strand of cord, likely won't be a scrap cord, you start wrapping it around the fringe like so until you're done on the other side, and then you can make as many layers as you'd like, and then you glue the layers together to form the rainbow. I'll link some of these rainbow tutorials in the description below. Another way to use up scrap cords is through the use of gathering knots to add accents. So say you have a strand of cord hanging down, like we do right here, and at the bottom of the fringe you just want to add some accents, add some color. You just need a strand of cord in a different color and you can make a gathering knot. Pull the ends through the loop we made in the beginning. Pull on the top end to tighten, and then we can snip off the excess. Now, of course, you can add these accents anywhere. You can add them to your tassels in a separate color. You can just add them to the bottom of your fringe, and you could add them on various parts of your fringe, but this is another way you can use up scrap cords. Pixel macrame is another great project. You can use up some of those scrap cords, especially when you are coloring certain parts of a picture that only require a little bit of cord. So as you can see here, the eyes, the cheeks, the nose, the mouth, they're only a little bit of color, so you don't need several long strands of cords. And actually, even for the brown and the face, the body, the natural brown colors here, you can use scrap cords for them. Pixel macrame is just double half-hitch knots, and so you can start and stop whenever you like. You can pretty much make the entire thing out of scrap cords. You start off pixel macrame with several anchor cords, and they're just the anchor cords all the way through, and then all throughout all you need is to attach and follow your picture to make the pixel macrame. It's very simple in that you just make vertical double half-hitch knots. So taking a strand of cord, for example, take it underneath, and then now I'm taking the same cord and over and through the right. That's one double half-hitch knot. And if it's the same color to the right, take the right end, make another double half-hitch knot. I just went over through the right and then over through the right. And so see, two side-by-side double half-hitch knots. Now if the next box, next square is a different color, then this is where you would start with another strand of cord. So basically every square of your pixel is a color that you need to fill with double half-hitch knots. And that's a wrap with our 10 unique ways on how to incorporate leftover scrap cords into your macrame projects. There's probably plenty more ways you can incorporate leftover cords into your macrame projects. If you have other ideas that I didn't mention in this video, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if any of you are beginners in macrame and are looking to elevate your macrame skill set even further, you may want to check out our YouTube membership or our BOCHIKNOT macrame community on Patreon, and I'll link both of those in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learning the different ways you can use up your leftover cords. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.